we've seen several parts of the CSRA by air too. And people are just reeling, you know, no power. People are just now starting to get ice, water, other supplies that they need, because it just took so long to get the roads cut open, get the supply chain moving. But we've been working with the locals. They've done a great job getting through the first initial 72 hours, which is what we always warn people before a big storm, and like we were doing with this one, you know, make sure you got 72 hours worth of supplies, because it may take us that long to get to you, to get to your community. And that's exactly what we saw. I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to that said it took us 4 or 6 hours to cut out of our house and to get to town, or for people to cut main routes in the town out. Even for one vehicle to pass, it took, you know, a day or two. So you can imagine what the power companies are dealing with.
Oh, absolutely. What's your message to the people of Georgia right now who are reeling? I mean, are you out in these communities letting people know, hey, I'm seeing this with my own eyes. I'm talking to people and hearing that, like having face-to-face conversations.
Well, that's why we're here. You know, we're here to let them know, like we know what you're going through. This isn't me saying this from the Capitol in Atlanta. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. Marty and I both have. We've been on the ground. We've been talking to people. We've been hearing what their needs are, whether it's a generator or fixing a leaking water pipe to get water back going. I mean, we've literally flown water in with Black Hawk helicopters into local communities that we couldn't get to. And so we know what they're going through. I felt like it was important for people to see and for me to see directly what they're dealing with, because that gives them a sense of hope. I think that's some of the frustration when the first emergency declarations came down. There was only 11 counties in that. A lot of people were outraged, including me, because there was such devastation in you know, up to 90 counties. So we called the White House. We spoke to the President's Chief of Staff, the FEMA administrator, and said, look, you're sending the signal that you're not paying attention to some of these rural communities. And immediately, almost, they added additional 30 counties. So we're up to 41 counties now. But we just want people to know we're going to stay in the fight. We're going to continue to work with the locals. We're going to be here for the long haul. And that's our message to people. Just hang in there. You know, keep fighting. It's going to keep getting better every day.
Do you expect to add more counties to the
Well, it would be FEMA that's doing the adding based off of the data that we see. But I absolutely think we'll have a lot more counties added than we have right now. We're at 41 right now. I could see us going to anywhere from 70 to 90. It was a massive storm. I mean, we're dealing with things statewide. Even the metro Atlanta area had record flooding. We had mudslides. We had to evacuate people below lakes and ponds up in the northeast part of the state. So we've been dealing with it from, you know, Valdosta all the way up to Rabun County.
You talked about preparations, and I think some of our coastal communities, I mean, I grew up in the low country of South Carolina, hurricanes happen. But when you talk about preparing, some of our inland communities, like what you've seen today in McDuffie County, Augusta, these are communities that aren't used to this. I mean, when has a Category 1 hurricane come over our inland communities?
Yeah, never, probably. I mean, literally, for a Cat 2 to hit us in the southern part of the state, remain a Cat 1 through most of the state, if not all of it, is truly unprecedented. This storm barely slowed down. It was extremely wide, so we're dealing with this in multiple counties. But, I mean, look, that is why before the storm, when we did the state of emergency that allowed us to move resources and pre-prepare and get the state operations center so we could start really responding as soon as the storm passed, was so important for us. And it's why we included all 159 counties, because you never know where these storms are going to go. But this one, we knew it was going to be wide. It's one of the largest wind-filled storms ever to come out of the Atlantic. So even though it didn't get to a Cat 5, it's one of the widest storms that we've ever had to deal with, certainly in this part of the country, but also certainly in our state. I mean, a great example, and to put this into perspective, Georgia Power, strongest storm they've ever had to deal with, they had 1,700 poles that they had to replace. This storm through today, or right now, they have 8,000. So you can see the difference in magnitude this storm has caused, just much more havoc than anything we've ever seen before.
Yeah, and it takes 4 hours to replace each pole.
Yeah,
so
4 to 6 hours.
That math is just incomprehensible when you look at the huge scale of this.
Well, it is, but also you got to realize, like today, they have 20,000 people, just Georgia Power, that are responding to this storm. So you literally have logistics engineers, clearing crews, linemen. The EMCs have a lot of resources too. So even though it's a lot to do, they got an unprecedented amount of resources that they have. But it is going to take time, especially in our rural areas like parts of McDuffie County and the CSRA. It takes a long way to cut to get lines free, and then there's a long distance between two houses or the transmission line to the substation to the main line. So we still have a lot of work to do, but they're on it.
What do you think is the other need? I mean, we've been talking a lot about power. I know water is a big situation in Augusta because people are having to boil their water. McDuffie County, thankfully, they're fine, but a lot of our viewing areas having problems with water.
Well, it depends on where you are. I mean, there's certainly water issues. I mean, we were just with some folks from Wadley, Georgia. They're having a water line issue, but I got a text on the way here. They got 25% of their system back up. So, like all those things, you're now starting to see some progress. I know we've been working really hard in Richmond County. Columbia County's been a big help connecting with them. I think the Corps of Engineers has been working on that. I know our team has Georgia Power to make sure we can get the water system fully back up and running, but it was a significant hit to that community. But there's a lot of people working on that too. So I think you'll see over the next few days those things start coming back online. It's just going to make people's life a lot easier, and certainly when we get the power back.
I know we've go ahead. My last question. About the National Guard soldiers, do you expect to deploy any more of those? I know we already have some in our communities.
Well, we'll deploy as many as we need. 2,500 is a lot, but I've told General Wilson if he needs more, he needs to let me know. We'll make it happen.
Okay. Thank you, Governor. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.